All right, guys, continuing chapter 6, and let's get a good understanding about this particular chapter. Everything that there is for us to understand in this chapter. Okay, and we'll simultaneously keep updating our notes also so that we have a good revision place that we can, revision notes where we can regularly revise everything. So in yesterday's class, we have finished again initial investment, selling price, variable cost per unit, and fixed cost. Yeah. So these are the costs that we have understood, and these are the topics that we have finished under sensitivity analysis. Now we'll slowly look forward into the remaining three that there are there. Now we look into sales volume. Okay. How about sales volume? What do we do with sales volume? So let's understand sales volume. Everything about sales volume. Let's get a good idea about this here. So when I talk about sales volume, what are we really referring to? That is something that is very crucial. That is something that's really important. So sales volume is basically a certain cash flow that affects. Okay. So before that, let me just read out the little theory for you here so that you are very clear about sales volume. So if you look here, the value of the present value of cash flow under consideration should include all effects of a changing variable, right? If one cash flow is changing, every variable it affects and the impact it has on all the variables should be considered. Okay. The value of the present value of a cash flow under consideration should include all effects of a changing variable. It should effect, it should include all effects of a changing variable. Okay. The value of the present value of a cash flow under consideration. The value of the present value of the cash flow under consideration should include all effects of a changing variable. Okay. So now what do you mean by that? Now the sales volume affects both sales revenue also. Whenever I talk about sales volume affects your sales revenue. Sales volume also affects your variable cost. Okay. And when you're asked to find the sensitivity, okay, and when you've been asked to find the sensitivity to sales volume, so what you have to do is you have to include all the effects of a changing variable. So it affects sales volume also, it sales affects variable also. So you net the two. You take the net effect. So you take sales price minus variable cost, right? Because you have to include all the effect that one change in variable is causing, right? You have to include all the entire effect that a variable is causing. Okay. So what you can do is as the sales volume affects both sales revenue and variable cost, being asked to find the sensitivity to sales volume is the same as sensitivity to contribution, right? So what you have to do is because sales volume is affecting both sales revenue and variable, you have to net the two and take the present value of the difference. So you see with the contribution, you have 12.50 and you have 10. Okay. You have 12.50 and you have 10. The difference between the two into 10,000 into 3.170. So you'll get 79,250. So you have taken the present value of the difference of a year. Why? Because you have to include all effects of a changing variable, right? So here only they have given, for instance, cash flow affected by a change in sales volume would include both sales revenue and variable cost. So the relevant figure that you would take is the present value of contribution. And what is contribution? Sales revenue minus your variable cost. So you have to net the two and then take the present value of the difference because you have to include the effect of you have to include all the effects of a changing variable, right? You have to include all the effects of a changing variable. You have to include all the effects of a changing variable. That is very important. You have to include all the effects of a changing variable. Okay. You have to include all the effects of a changing variable. Okay. Very important. Include all the effects of a changing variable. Okay. Let's go through this one. Yeah. Shruti, how have you understood this one? Okay. Very good. Yeah, this is volume. That's it. So what you have to do is include all the effects of a changing variable, just like Shruti said. Examples for sales volume, it affects both the sales and the variable cost. So we consider the contribution. And what is contribution? It is your selling price minus your variable cost. Okay, it is your selling price minus your variable cost. That's it. It includes all the effects of a changing variable. Example, sales volume, which affects both the sales and the variable cost. So we consider the contribution, which is what selling price minus the variable cost. A very important point, and we've made a note of it as well. Okay, Prahlad, did we understand this, buddy? Just take us through this quickly. Okay, so we have finished with the sales volume as well, and next we look at a discount rate. Here we calculate the IRR. Now we look into sensitivity to discount rate. Okay. Let's look into sensitivity to the discount rate. Very important. So to calculate the sensitivity to the discount rate, it is necessary to find the rate at which the NPV is zero. Right? For discount rate, what we have to do is we have to calculate the IRR. Right? And what is IRR? It is the discount rate at which NPV is zero. The discount rate at which NPV is zero. That is the IRR. It's the discount rate at which NPV is zero. Discount rate. What is discount rate? Discount rate basically IRR is the discount rate at which NPV is zero. Okay, so to calculate the sensitivity to the discount rate, it's necessary to find the rate at which the NPV is zero, which is the IRR. So whenever they tell you to calculate the sensitivity to the discount rate, you have to just calculate the IRR. Okay, you have to just calculate the IRR. So when we talk about IRR here, time 0, 1 to 4, cash flow, discount factor, present value. So we have all the numbers over here. And slowly, we will look to find the IRR. So see how do we go about it is, first we'll take the cash flows. What are the cash flows here? First is outflow is we are giving an outflow of 40,000 here. Okay. First what we are doing here, if we look here, we have an outflow of 40,000 here. Same three steps that we had done here to calculate the NPV. Same we have done all the three same steps, only that the NPV is zero. Here it was 7550. What we have taken is we have taken over here at zero. Why is it zero? Because we are considering the IRR. And what is IRR? IRR is the discount factor. And this is what we are finding out. IRR is the discount factor at which the NPV is zero. So see, time outflow is 40,000, present value is 40,000 because multiplied by 1, this will always be the case. 1 to 4, 15,000, and we want this to be 40,000. Why? Only then this will be zero. So now what do we multiply it with? That this becomes 40,000, right? What do I multiply 15,000 with that it becomes 40,000? That came to 2.667. Now we look the discount factor for which the annuity factor for first 4 years is 2.667. This will find it in the present value table. That's it. This is the annuity table. We have to look at which for 4 years is 2.667. Okay, so we look here. The closest that I can see would be 2.264. Okay, so all of the 4 years you can see, even for the basic rates, it's at all is 3. Nothing is between 2.667. So if it were, we could have used this method, but it doesn't seem like it. Okay. Okay, so we look for 4 years. Okay, so it's 2.667. Okay, so the last it has to be 2.667, right? Anywhere between this range is what we feel it would be, right? So when you do this here, so from your tables at 4 years, the closest annually 2.6 is approximately 18%. 2.667 is the closest that they're saying is the 18% is what they're saying roughly. The closest that they can say is they're finding 667, but they're saying is 18%, right? So When we look here, the IRR is 18%. This therefore is the break-even rate. The IRR is 18%. Okay, but if we look into the sensitivity now finding the sensitivity is therefore currently your interest rate is 10. Max it can become 18. If it goes above 18, then it will be a problem. Okay, divided by what it is 10 into 100. So 80% is that sensitivity we have for discount factors. Okay, currently the discount rate is 10%. We have calculated the NPV using 10%. Now the question is when we're finding the sensitivity, how much? So first of all, what we do is we create the table. Okay, the first is we'll create the table, right? Where we have cash flow. First we create the table. Second, we take the NPV as 0. Okay. Third, we find the annuity factor, which will be your balancing figure. Only one figure will be missing. That will be a balancing figure. Once you found your annuity factor, right, then you have to find that annuity factor in the present value annuity table. Okay, find that annuity factor in the present value annuity table. Find that annuity factor in the present value annuity table. Okay, find that annuity table and the corresponding interest rate percentage is your IRR. That's it, done. The corresponding interest rate percentage is your IRR. The corresponding interest rate percentage is your IRR. That's it. So what we did first, we made the table. Okay, now we'll follow the steps. We made this table, time, cash flow, discount factor, what we used for NPV. Second, we found the NPV 0. So for the NPV to be 0, outflow is 40,000. Discount factor will always be 1 for any percentage. So outflow is 40,000 only. And for NPV to be 0, this has to be an inflow has to be 40,000. And here the cash flow. What are the cash flow? Two cash flows were there. If you look here, fixed cost and variable cost, there were two cash flows. Okay, contribution and your fixed cost. These were the two. Selling and variable are netted over your contribution, and then you have fixed cost. You have all the three cash flows over here. You netted it off. 25 minus 10, you're getting positive 15. Here also we have taken positive 15. Here also we have taken positive 15. So 0, 40,000, 1 and 40,000, 1 to 4. We have 15,000 here. And this is an outflow of 40,000, positive 40,000 here. Net it is 2.667. Net we'll get 2.667. The net is when we take the balancing figure, what do we multiply with 15,000 that makes it 40,000, right? So 15,000 into x is equal to 40,000. 15,000 into x is equal to 40,000. So then you can do x is equal to 40,000 divided by 15,000. When you net, you will get 2.667. This 2.667, you will look in which 4-year annuity factor table you get 2.667. The close you're getting 18%, and that is your IRR. So your IRR is 18%. Now you have to find the change. So currently 10% is the rate. 10% is your rate. Currently your rate is 10%. Right? Currently the rate is 10%. Okay. Currently the rate is 10%. Okay. So the 10% rate is, so if you look into this 10% rate, the 10% rate that comes along with, so we have 10%, but what we have to get to is we have to get to 18%. So how much is the difference? 18% minus 10%, you will get 8% is the difference. The 10% minus 18 divided by 10. So basically you'll understand that how much can your sensitivity change for it to be a problem. So 80% is the sensitivity. There's a lot of sensitivity. So the new rate IRR is 18%, current rate is 10%. 18 minus 10 divided by the old rate again 10 into 100, you'll get a percentage. So 80%. Right? So now your cost of capital would have to rise by 80% before your NPV falls to zero. That's it. Okay, that is all this calculation is. All right, just take me through this here. Prahlad, how have you understood this, buddy? You guys connected to the steps here. Can you hear me, Prahlad? हाँ. कैसे हो रहा है ये वाला? हाँ. हाँ, ओके। हम्म। हम्म, हम्म। हाँ, कैसे आए 15,000? देखो यहाँ पे हमने जब एनपीवी निकाला था, ये देख रहे हो, इस कंट्रीब्यूशन और फिक्स कॉस्ट को अगर आप नेट करो। हाँ, एंड द नेट हैज कम फ्रॉम ऑल द थ्री कैश फ्लो: सेलिंग प्राइस, वेरिएबल कॉस्ट, फिक्स कॉस्ट, जो हमने कल किया था। सेलिंग और वेरिएबल को माइनस करोगे तो कंट्रीब्यूशन, वी गॉट कंट्रीब्यूशन, एंड देन वी हैव फिक्स कॉस्ट एज वेल। So we have taken contribution and fixed cost, netted the two, and then we've got a net cash flow of 15. Okay. अब क्वेश्चन आता है कि ये 2667 कैसे आया है? तो सी हाउ डिड वी गेट दिस बडी? कि अपन क्या करेंगे, 40,000 हमको चाहिए, 15,000 हाथ में है, तो मैं 15 को किससे मल्टीप्लाई करूं कि 40 आ जाए? तो स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड अपना कैलकुलेशन है, 15,000 इंटू एक्स इज इक्वल टू 40,000। एक्स इज इक्वल टू 40,000 बाई 15,000। तो एक्स आ जाएगा 2.667। एंड द मोमेंट यू गॉट 2.667, एन्युटी फैक्टर में देखेंगे किसमें 2.667 क्लोजेस्ट है। 18% में। That's it. And that's how we figured out IRR is 18%. ठीक है, that's how we figured out that the IRR is 18%. ठीक है, that's how we figured out the IRR is 18%. ठीक है, और जैसे आईआरआर आ गया, अभी करेंटली जो रेट हमने इनिशियली यूज किया था दैट वाज 10%। ठीक है, ये था डिस्काउंट रेट। अब बोल रहे हैं कि आईआरआर 18% है, तो कितना चेंज हो सकता है बिफोर इट स्टार्ट बीइंग अ प्रॉब्लम? तो हम लोग परसेंटेज निकालेंगे। 18 हो सकता है, करेंटली 10 है, 18 हो तो भी चलेगा अपने को। तो 18 माइनस 10 डिवाइडेड बाई 10, तो 80% तक ये चेंज हो और वी आर स्टिल ओके विद इट। ओके, ठीक है। Shruti, did we understand this? What's happening here? Okay, आज इज इट क्लियर बड़ी क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? Okay, that is all about this. That is all about this. Okay, discount rate हो गया, and that is all the line items we have looked into right now. Okay, we have looked into all the line items now. That's great. All the line items: initial selling price, variable cost, fixed, and discount rate. All the line items are done here. Okay, moving on now. Sensitivity analysis. We'll finish one more here. Okay. So now bachelor को is considering investing 500,000 in equity in equipment. So how much is he investing? 500,000 negative. Why? Why? Excuse me. Why is it negative, Shruti? Initial investment. It's always a negative. Very good. And why is it one, Shruti? All the percentages at year zero are always one. Very good. So we'll get negative 500. Super. To produce a new type of house, sales are expected to continue for the next 3 years. That's why you will see next 3 years is the timeline that we have considered. Yeah, Ahad, are we following, buddy? 3 years. This is the 3 years. Now let's say at the end of the we'll have a scrap value of 80,000. Last is scrap value at the end. So at the end of year three, we'll have a scrap value, which is again an inflow. So 80,000 will be a scrap value. Easy. Okay, now we look into the numbers of sales revenue of 60,000 per month will be generated, and variable will be 350. So we have 600 as sales, 350 as variable, and our fixed cost will increase by 40,000 is our fixed cost. That is all the cash flow. And we got equipment 500,000, revenue 600,000, variable cost 350, fixed cost 40, and scrap value 80. Okay, so these are all the cash flows. Okay, these are all the cash flows. 500 is the equipment, revenue is 600, variable cost 350, fixed cost 40, scrap value 80. So these are all the cash flows. Okay, so these are all the cash flows. Now we have the discount factor. The discount factor is now for all these even cash flows, we'll use annuity factor. So 15% for 3 years. So what we'll go to the table, we look at 15%, we look at 3 years, 2.283, right? 15% for 2 years, 2.283. So 2.283, 2.283, 2.283. Okay, so we have 3 years, 2.283, 2.283, 2.38, 283. For 3 years, we have these cash flows. 2.283, 2.283, and 2.283. Okay, so the revenue is 600, variable cost 350, fixed cost 40 into 2.283 into 2.283 into 2.283. Right? So we'll get the present values here. All the three present values are here. Scrap value again, it's only in 1 year, so we cannot use annuity factor. Annuity factor is only for multiple cash flow which are even in nature, means same cash flows. So here we'll again use discount rate. So 15% for third year. So we'll go to the annual present value table. This was the annuity table. So we'll go 15% for the third year. You'll see 0.658, and that's exactly what we've used, 0.658 here. Okay, multiply everything, we'll get the NPV of 33. Multiply everything, we'll get the NPV of 33. Okay, multiply everything, you'll get the NPV of 33. Multiply everything and we've got the NPV of 33. Okay, so 33 is our NPV. Done? Yeah, that is the entire number. 33 is our NPV. Now that 33 is our NPV, we'll take it forward from here. So once you get the NPV, you know the formula. If we've written it right away, NPV divided by the present value of cash flow. The first one, they're asking for initial investment. Okay. Just from this, you have the NPV, you have the present value of initial investment. Yeah. Prahlad, let's find out the percentage for initial investment. करो. ये फॉर्मूला रहा. NPV चाहिए. NPV कितना है इस क्वेश्चन में? यस. वेरी गुड. करो कितना आ रहा है? 6.6%. ओके. Okay, 6.6%. Perfect. Let's go for scrap value now. So Shruti, let's try for scrap value. How will we go for scrap value? So here we have the present value of scrap value. Here we have the NPV. Quickly calculate. Tell me. Okay, tell me. What's the answer? Okay, 62%. Very good. Next, we look into selling price. Scrap is also done. Okay, आज selling price करते हैं बड़ी. एक यूनिट का कितना था? तो अगर अपने को एक भी यूनिट की वैल्यू दी हुई है 500,000, 3 एट दी एंड, सेल्स रेवेन्यू डायरेक्ट दिया हुआ है 600,000 का. ओके. तो टोटल अपने को दिया हुआ है. ठीक है, एक यूनिट का होता तो भी 10,000 से मल्टीप्लाई करते अपन. ठीक है, तो 600,000 ले लो. उसका प्रेजेंट वैल्यू क्या होगा 600,000 का? ये रहा 1370. ये अपना प्रेजेंट वैल्यू हो गया. डिनोमिनेटर हो गया अपना 1370. न्यूमरेटर ये रहा. ओके, वी गॉट द वैल्यू यहाँ पे सेलिंग प्राइस का. देखो 2.4 आ रहा है क्या? अगर एक यूनिट का दिया हुआ होता भी जैसे पिछले सब में था, तो इनटू हम लोग नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स करके टोटल वैल्यू ही निकालते. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे डायरेक्टली टोटल वैल्यू दे दिया गया अपने. जुड़ गया था लॉजिक बड़ी. आज जरूरी आ रही है, अभी समझना, बाद में नहीं होगा ये. वो बताओ इसमें क्या कंफ्यूजन है 33 और 1370 में? एकदम एकदम क्लियर. परफेक्ट, थैंक यू. दैट इज अबाउट सेलिंग प्राइस. ठीक है, सो वी गॉट दिस. Okay, now tell me, what is the difference in the calculation of selling price and sales volume? Anybody? Selling price and sales volume, what will be the difference? When we calculate the present value, what will be the difference between selling price and sales volume? Yeah. No, 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 no. Anyone, anyone. या प्रहलाद, सेलिंग प्राइस और सेल्स वॉल्यूम में क्या फर्क रहेगा ब्रो? अपन कैलकुलेट करेंगे। सेलिंग प्राइस में तो हमने पूरा रेवेन्यू ले लिया। क्या तो यस, एब्सोल्युटली राइट है। तो सेलिंग प्राइस में वी ओनली टेक द इन सेलिंग प्राइस वी ओनली टेक द sales revenue, the present value of sales revenue. But in sales volume, we will take the sales revenue minus your variable cost. Okay, minus your variable cost. Very important. Okay, so always having this clarity is very important. Where did you get the variable cost? We have taken it here. See, 799 is our variable cost. 1307 is the sales revenue. Net the two, and you take that as your denominator. Okay, that's why you should always study these two together so that you don't get confused, right? So that you know, okay, selling price is only sales revenue. You'll only take the 1370. That's it. Okay, in sales volume, selling price will only take 1370. But in sales volume, we'll take 1370 minus 799. Minus 799. Okay, minus 799. Okay, that's it. Done. Minus 799. Okay, that's all it is. ओके, आज एकदम क्लियर है बड़ी, सेल्स वॉल्यूम और सेलिंग प्राइस में क्या अंतर है? हाँ। ओके, तो सेलिंग प्राइस में ब्रो अगर आप देखो, सबसे पहले सेल्स प्राइस में आप देखो, हमने रेवेन्यू लिया और 1370 लिया था जो आपने अभी कैलकुलेट किया। अगर मैं देखता हूँ, सेल्स प्राइस में हमने सिर्फ 1370 लिया, सिर्फ रेवेन्यू लिया। 1370 हमने सिर्फ रेवेन्यू ले लिया। जब उन्होंने हमको क्या निकालने बोला, सेलिंग प्राइस का सेंसिटिविटी एनालिसिस, तो हमने क्या लिया, सिर्फ हमने क्या लिया, सिर्फ रेवेन्यू लिया 1370 का। ठीक है। पर जब सेल्स वॉल्यूम का निकालने बोला यहाँ पे छठे सिक्स्थ में, तो हमने क्या किया, रेवेन्यू में से वेरिएबल कॉस्ट माइनस किया और इन दोनों का डिफरेंस लिया एज अ डिनोमिनेटर। सेलिंग प्राइस में मैंने सिर्फ रेवेन्यू लिया 1370, सेल्स वॉल्यूम में 1370 में 799 माइनस किया और वो डिनोमिनेटर था। इज इट क्लियर? ठीक है। इन सेलिंग प्राइस एंड सेल्स वॉल्यूम, ठीक है, अभी देखो क्या होगा ना, ऐसे अगर हम लोग चीजें इकट्ठा करते गए जो हम बाद में देख लेंगे तो क्या होगा, बाद में वो रही जाती है यार चीजें। ठीक है, तो जब जो हो रहा है उसी समय कर लो। ठीक है, आपको नहीं आया कोई टेंशन नहीं है, मैं बोल रहा हूँ क्या आता, आप जितने बार बोलोगे मैं रिपीट करूंगा। ठीक है, तो आप मेरे को पूछो। ओके, कि नहीं सर नहीं आया, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं यार, एफएम यार, व्हेन आई डिड इट इट इतना क्रेजी था, वो भी मेरे को इतना पढ़ा लिया हूँ तब जाके आई गॉट द क्लैरिटी। बट अगेन व्हेन आई वाज ऑफ योर एज राइटिंग द पेपर्स गाइस, ऑब्वियसली इट वाज वेरी चैलेंजिंग एंड सो आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग इट विल बी फॉर यू. So if you don't understand anything, you ask me, I will explain it 10 times, but I will not have to, because by the second time I'm sure you will get it. ठीक है, so please ask, don't wait for me to ask you personally that have you understood, because certain times everybody I might not be able to. Okay, so please guys utilize me, right? I've thought for a while and I have some clarity on these topics, so please utilize me, and if you don't shy away from asking, if something didn't get click, it didn't click, no worries, at the end you want to pass. It doesn't matter in the class how many doubts you ask. Okay, so please make sure that you ask. Initial done, scrap done, selling price done, sales volume done. Yeah, Shruti, we understood, right? Difference between selling price and sales volume, how to do the calculation. Okay, now let's understand the fixed cost. Fixed cost will increase by 40,000. They have told, we took present value of fixed cost 91. Fixed cost was there 40, present value 91. So 91 was our fixed cost, and again in NPV, so we found out 33. Okay, you see 33, 91 into 100, 36%. 33, 91 into 100, 36%. 33 by 91 into 100, 36%. That's it. Yeah, let's break down the calculation here. आज कैसे आया ये बड़ी? अपना एनपीवी कितना चल रहा है, ये सब में कितना एनपीवी निकला हमारा? ये फॉर्मूला देखो, एनपीवी कहाँ आएगा, न्यूमरेटर या डिनोमिनेटर? न्यूमरेटर में आ गया अपना 33। अब आते डिनोमिनेटर में, प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ कैश फ्लो अंडर कंसिडरेशन। प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ कैश फ्लो अंडर कंसिडरेशन किसका लेना है अपने को? प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ कैश फ्लो अंडर कंसिडरेशन, तो हम लोग किसकी वैल्यू कंसिडर कर रहे हैं अभी? हम लोग किसकी वैल्यू कंसिडर कर रहे हैं? हम लोग किसकी वैल्यू कंसिडर कर रहे हैं? हम लोग किसकी वैल्यू कंसिडर कर रहे हैं? फिक्स कॉस्ट की। तो फिक्स कॉस्ट का प्रेजेंट वैल्यू कितना बड़ी? 91। ये फॉर्मूला में बैठाओ, एनपीवी है और प्रेजेंट वैल्यू क्या होएगा? अगर मेरे को इसका निकालना फिक्स कॉस्ट का, तो ठीक है, अब देखो वापस फॉर्मूला में। उसके बाद दैट्स इट, आ गई सेंसिटिविटी। ओके, आ गई सेंसिटिविटी, दैट्स ऑल। क्लियर है याद एकदम? ओके, so that is about fixed cost. So we got that about fixed cost as well. Okay, now we look into unit variable cost. So they're saying the project NPV must fall by 33,000. That is our NPV. Before the present value of the variable cost 33 cents, the present value is 799. So we had 33 divided by 799 into 100. That's it, 4.1%. We just take the variable cost, guys. Don't let the word unit play in your mind. You just take the same thing, the variable 799, and then you have 33. Same thing. 33 799. Yeah. लेट्स मेक सेंस ऑफ दिस। आहत, ये वाला करते हैं, वेरिएबल कॉस्ट का बड़ी कितना आएगा बताओ मेरे को, सेम लॉजिक से। एनपीवी है, प्रेजेंट वैल्यू है, दोनों निकाला हुआ है, बस बताओ। ठीक है। 33/799 इंटू 100। दैट्स इट। या, दैट्स इट, हो गया अपना वेरिएबल कॉस्ट भी 33/799 इंटू 100। फिक्स कॉस्ट ऑल्सो डन, लास्ट इज कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल। ओके, अगेन विल डू द स्टेप्स हियर। ओके, तो पहले हाइपोथेटिकली करते हैं। प्रहलाद, फर्स्ट स्टेप क्या रहेगा अपना? अपने को अगर ये डिस्काउंट रेट का देखना है तो फर्स्ट स्टेप क्या करेंगे अपन? या प्रहलाद? हाँ, तो अभी अपन फर्स्ट स्टेप में क्या करेंगे, टेबल। फर्स्ट स्टेप में क्या करेंगे? हाँ, टेबल बनाएंगे। और फिर टेबल में अपना एनपीवी क्या डालेंगे? एक सेकंड, ये दिखा देता हूँ मैं। हाँ, तो यहाँ पे अपन जीरो डाल देंगे। टेबल पहले बना लेंगे, पिछले सम का दिखा रहा हूँ मैं। यहाँ पे टाइम जीरो पे क्या डालेंगे? ये वाले सम में देखो आप, टाइम क्या रहेगा, कितना रहेगा? 500,000 डाल देंगे। डिस्काउंट फैक्टर क्या आएगा? 1, क्योंकि टाइम जीरो पे हमेशा 1 होता है। तो ये नेगेटिव क्या हो जाएगा, ये भी हो जाएगा नेगेटिव। कितना? -500,000। वेरी गुड। नेक्स्ट हम लोग कैश फ्लोज देंगे। तो 1 to year 3 रहेगा, सिर्फ 1 to year 3। ठीक है, हम लोग नेट करेंगे सारे कैश फ्लोज को 1 to year 3 में। ठीक है, वेरिएबल कॉस्ट, फिक्स कॉस्ट, स्क्रैप वैल्यू, सारे वैल्यूज लेके नेट कर देंगे। ठीक है, अब दिखाई देता हूँ मैं आपको। और फिर यहाँ भी -500,000 ही आना, +500,000 आना चाहिए। ठीक है, यहाँ पे +500, तभी नेगेटिव और पॉजिटिव। एग्जैक्टली, डिस्काउंट, और फिर उसको वी विल फाइंड इट इन द टेबल। ठीक है। ठीक है, अब थोड़ा फ्लो आया, अब देखते हैं इसका कैलकुलेशन। ठीक है, तो वो एक मेथड है जो अपन ने पिछले बार सीखा। इन्होंने अब एक और मेथड किया है, आईआरआर निकालने का मेथड। So which is again, they have gone the finding the NPV with 15% and 20%. That is one method. This is another method in which you can do it. ठीक है, तो यार again how we have learned IRR in the earlier chapter, I think chapter 4 or 5, where we had learned IRR. So they have taken that again. The formula that they have used is plus, lower plus. Yeah, what's next, Shruti, after this? IRR formula, NPV of the lower rate divided by NPV of the lower rate minus NPV of the higher rate into higher minus lower. Okay, so this is the formula that they have used, which we have done in the earlier chapter also. That's why I'm making all these notes, guys, so that you're easily able to navigate and you can do your revision. And revision doesn't feel like a long task, right? That's the whole point of me making these notes. So you understand fully in class and just use these notes to quickly revise the topics, right? So the lesser time we spend on the textbook, the more time you spend on doing the sums, your passing chances will increase. It's all about doing the exam kit, TYU, study hub, and the multiple mocks. That's it. The theory is just you have to just run through the theory, get the basic ideas. Genuine theory and real theory is learned during the question practice. Okay, you have to not spend majority of our time in theory, and you don't do that later on also. That's why I'm making these notes so that everything is simplified for you and you don't waste your time on theory. Okay, theory you just revise from this, and major time you have to spend on the question. Right? When you don't do the questions, that is when the problem happens. Okay, and that is one thing I'm genuinely trying this time to make sure we just do abundance of questions. So that's the whole point of making these notes. That is the cost of capital. Okay, so how have we done this? First of all, you can take they have found the NPV at the certain rate. Okay, at what rate they have used? First, they'll find it at 20%, and then they found NPV at 15%. Right, the same NPV that you have done over here at 15%, they have found at 20% also. 15 you have done, same thing, you change the rate, find it at 20%. You will get a certain NPV. How much NPV you have got at 20%, and 15 and 20 is something you have to try to take it most of the times. Unless this time given in the question 15 was given, so you just took 20. So 15 and 20, you can substitute 15 and 20 and find the or two NPVs. So one NPV you got 33, one NPV you got negative 11. Negative 30, positive 33 and negative 11. Right? You see here, second NPV at 20%, you got negative 11. Okay. So you got that, you put it in the formula and you got 18.75%. And you got 18.75%. Okay. What did you get? You got 18.75%. What did you get? 18.75%. This is your IRR, 18.75%. Okay, so now you compare, currently it's at 15, IRR is 18. So how much can it change without it being a problem? 25% also, up till 25% change is still okay with us. Currently it's at 15. If 15 changes by 25% more, we still don't have any problem. So it's that even if the 15% don't not changes up to 25%, if the 15% changes by 25% also, we are still okay, right? It should not go beyond that. Okay, it should not go beyond that. Okay, it should not go beyond that. Okay, that's the point we are trying to make, that it should not go beyond that. Okay, okay, it should not go beyond that. Okay, should not go beyond that. That's all. ठीक है, this is done. Should not go beyond that. So this is all about sensitivity analysis. Sums done. Now we look into the advantages and disadvantages. Let's summarize that, guys. And please revise the notes today of this topic. We completely done. Sums completely done. We got a good understanding about this. Let's look into the advantages. Firstly, it is simple to calculate. Yes, true. Second, it provides more information to management, right? It provides more info, right? It provides more information. Okay. Second, it identifies critical estimates. Okay. It identifies critical estimates. Okay. That is the advantages. Now let's look into the disadvantages. Okay. We talk about disadvantages. It assumes variable change independently of each other. It assumes variables change independently of each other. Okay. Second, it do not assess the likelihood of a variable changing. Right? It does not assess the likelihood of a variable changing. And next, it does not directly identify a correct decision. Right? It does not directly identify a correct decision. Okay. Okay. Assumes the variable changes independently of each other. It does not assess the likelihood of a variable changing, and it does not directly identify a correct decision. Okay, it does not directly identify a correct decision. So that is about the disadvantages. It assumes variables changing independently, does not assess the likelihood of a variable changing, and does not directly identify a correct decision. It does not identify directly a correct decision. That is about disadvantages. We've got the advantages, we've got the disadvantages. Okay, we've got the identifying advantages and we've got the disadvantages. Okay. So we've got the advantages and we've got the disadvantages. Okay, easy. Okay, so that is about sensitivity analysis. Okay, it does not directly identify correct decision. It does not address the likelihood that they're saying if it changes by this much, we are still okay with it, but does not change what is the chance of it changing. Right? If they say if the rain even if the rain comes till 75 millimeters, we are still okay, no problem. But what is the probability will it rain? That it does not assess. Right? It assumes that variable change independently of each other, that only one variable is changing at a time. That is not possible in the world. Right? Obviously, multiple things will change at the same time together. And it does not directly identify a correct decision. It does not directly identify a correct decision. It does not directly identify a correct decision. Okay, disadvantage is it does not directly identify a correct decision. Okay, it does not directly identify a correct decision. Okay, so that is all about the disadvantages. Okay, so that is what an end to sensitivity analysis. Now we have probability analysis that will start, which is expected value, which will take majority of tomorrow and day after class, and we're done with expected value. This is a common area of mistakes for a lot of students, guys. So I highly recommend you to attend the class on expected values. Please try to not miss it. Okay, and the next 3 days, please try Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to not miss it. Okay, that is very crucial that you attend all the classes properly on expected value. Next 2 days only, I will finish it. Okay, that